We are live. Welcome to Tuesday Night Rotor Talk Live, Season 2, Episode 21. I know you're expecting Chris Anderson tonight. Chris Anderson had a family emergency and was unable to make it. But we do have at least one half of ZinoNation. Mr. Marcus Crawford has joined us tonight. We'll get to Marcus here in a minute. We'll get a Zino update from him. We're going to be talking Anafi tonight. I think you guys will be interested in that. If you guys stick around, I have some Osmo Action footage from me that I'm going to share with you guys. So let's go ahead and welcome Mike B's in the house, Steve Carpenter's in the house, Thomas Sullivan's in the house, Floyd Moats, Peter Carroll. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining tonight. Again, Chris sends his apologies. He does have a family emergency, and we will try to get him rescheduled. I also want to give you an update, too. Kelly Shores has actually posted information about Spin Up. He has a video out on that. Definitely go check that out. The earlier that you register and can pay for your ticket, the less it will cost. So, get going on that because it's going to be fantastic. It does close out at 200 people. That's the limits. Floyd, welcome. Thank you for showing up tonight. The other thing that I wanted to talk about too is I just put out a video on the Anafi. Guys want to check that out. I think it will be fantastic. Gave some shout outs to Brian Singleton, to Billy Kyle, to Rick Smith, to Ethan Mitchell, to Marcus Crawford, and to Ron Braun, all great drone reviewers who own Anafi. So definitely you want to check the video out and definitely check their channels out. They have some great, I know Rick has some good ones. Billy has one that he just put out there. I know Marcus does. Ron has one out there. Ethan has several out there. So definitely go check those out. Those will definitely be worth your time in doing that. And I got to tell you something. We'll get to Marcus here in a second. I can't tell you how much fun I'm having with the Osmo Action, guys. It's just like I'm like a kid in a candy store with this. It's just absolutely fantastic. And not only I'm going to do a review video on it and put clips together, but I'm going to put a vlog together because basically it was Valerie and I going out to Sam's Club and to Publix, and you guys are in for a treat. Trust me. If you're looking for some good comedy and some good laughs, you will find it along with some Osmo Action footage. So with all that said, Marcus, welcome. How are you this evening?
Hey, thank you, Bill. Boy, I know kind of a last minute deal, but glad to fill in. And yeah, I did a little drone flying myself today. So as you would say, it was a good day to fly.
All right. So give us. I know you recently put out, I think there were like back-to-back updates on the Zino. Why don't you tell us about that, and then tell us about your flying experience today?
Yeah. So last week, the Hubsan folks, first they released a flight control upgrade. Which is interesting. We've all been looking for FC improvements on the Zino. If anybody that's watched any of the videos, virtually anybody that posts about it, it's not the most stable drone, and one of the biggest gripes about it is the sensitivity of the sticks, and of course that is hopefully something that could be addressed with flight control. But one of the biggest problems with it, with their previous upgrade, is if you went out of range, the drone would not instantly come to return to home unless it lost FPV signal, or when it reached that 25% return to home battery. So there was a workaround that you could do. You could shut off the controller, and then the drone would lose that connection and head back. Well, they fixed that again. So they created a problem and then they fixed the problem. So that was good. So that was probably the biggest update there. And then the very next day they released an FPV firmware upgrade. So the Zino is a little different. It's not like what we're used to with DJI products or really any other drone that I've ever messed around with. When they released firmware updates, it's a much more manual process, and they're separate for the flight controls, for the gimbal, for FPV, the camera, and for the controller. And so it's kind of a little bit more of a process. But they did make some improvements. I went back and looked at one of my videos from back in January, and I'll be honest with you, I don't feel like the drone flies any better today than it did back then. But where they have made dramatic improvements is in the camera. The camera is really it is better video than I ever could imagine from a $250 drone. But I got a little story today. So today I went up, I took it out flying. I wanted to do some waypoint missions with it. And I went out to Lucky Peak Reservoir. Well, I wasn't able to do the waypoint missions because I didn't preload the maps. It's out of cell range, so I knew that, but I didn't think about it. Didn't preload the maps, so I wasn't able to do a waypoint mission. But I did fly it around a little bit. But when I was all done, and in fact, I took the Corvette out there, and I had a friend of mine, his 18-year-old son, let him drive the Corvette out there. He really loved that. But when we were done flying, this fellow Matthew Walker from the Army Corps of Engineers stopped, and this is one of those lessons about drone flying. And Bill and I talked about this briefly. You know, if you give the authorities respect, you get respect back. And you know, he asked me if I had been flying. I said, yeah. I said, I've been flying. I said, gosh, I didn't think there was any restriction here. It's not a no-fly zone or anything. He goes, well, it isn't technically. But he said, the Army Corps of Engineers, we're trying to control our area because there are sensitive areas. By this reservoir, there's a power plant. There's some other things. And he goes, we just want to know who's flying here. And he said, you know, send me an email, fill out an application, and then whenever you want to come out here, he said, you just send me an email. You don't even have to ask permission. He said, just send me an email, and we know you're going to be flying that day. And you know what? I thought that was really awesome, and I absolutely understand why they would want to know who's flying, you know, relatively close to a dam, although I never flew towards the dam. I always flew the other way, but regardless. And the other cool thing about it, I got to talking to the guy. He is a photographer, and he has been considering buying a drone, and he was very interested in the Mavic 2 with the Hasselblad. And so we had a really good conversation about that. So I don't know, might have even sold a drone. You never know.
See, that's, you know, and see, and this is one of the things, and I've talked about it before, and I know Marcus and Ron and I have talked about this as well. It's like, you know, if you come in with a great attitude with them, you know what, more often than not, you're going to get a great attitude back from them. And, you know, this is something that, you know, Marcus was able to experience today. You know, when you get approached by people like this, you need to kill them with kindness. Okay. And, you know, no matter how they treat you, you know, and that's one thing. I'll say this, you know, this got instilled in me from my mom, all right, and parents, my dad too. You know, you be nice to people, okay, and they'll be 99% of the time they'll be nice in return. So, and that's the case for Marcus here too. You know, and I know I've run into people as well. You know, we got approached by a deputy sheriff once, and he could not have been nicer. You know, you just, you know, tell him, he asked what you were doing, told him. You know, just, you know, follow your FAA rules, just make sure you're okay and you're good to go, you know, and then, you know, Marcus has gained another friend, and maybe even he's got you know, an affiliate sale with this as well too. And that's always, it's always good to have this kind of stuff here. I think it's fantastic. You know, we're going to kind of switch gears here a little bit, and we're going to be talking about the Anafi. Now, I just posted a link in the chat to my latest video, and it's called Parrot Anafi Worth a Second Look. And part of the video, it's my time that I was able to fly it with Rick when Rick was here last year. You know, and the other part, you know, we kind of talk about, you know, is it worth a second look and why? And get into some of the reasons, you know, why it had a slow start and why it's having a resurgence. So we're going to go ahead. We'll talk a little bit about that, but I do want you guys to go ahead and watch that video. And I'm going to touch briefly on some of those things right now. Now, one of the first things was, and I think this was probably the biggest thing, and Marcus, chime in here, you know, but I think, you know, the timing when they released the Anafi couldn't have been worse, because, you know, it was released on July 1st, and then August 23rd, the Mavic 2 comes out, and it's just like, what's an Anafi after that, you know? Am I right?
I watched your video, and what you listed 4 or 5 points there, bullet points, and they were all right on the money. And a lot of it was just unfortunate timing. But what I think is kind of cool now is that it is getting a resurgence, and people are rediscovering the Anafi, the goodness of the Anafi, and of course those add-ons to the app are only 99 cents now, so that doesn't hurt.
Yes. That makes a big difference. Well, I watched Billy's video today, and he's just zipping down the beach, and he's saying, I'm going to get some filters for it, and it'll really be top notch. And and the one thing that now I didn't have a chance to shoot video because it was Rick's drone. I didn't have any SD cards with me, but the agility and the way this handles and the nimbleness of it, one of the big knocks coming out of the gate was, and this is what the early reviewers have said, there's no obstacle avoidance any way you look on there, okay? Which is true. It has no obstacle avoidance. But if you're a pilot who has had a measure of experience, and definitely pilots, like Marcus, myself, and the ones that I mentioned in the video, these are we all have experience. Obstacle avoidance is one of those things that we don't need. Is it nice? Do we like it? Yeah. Do I like having it on my Mavic 2 Pro? I sure do. And my Phantom 4 Pro? Absolutely. I love having it. But you know what? If I'm flying the Anafi, it makes me, and correct me if I'm wrong, Marcus, I think it makes you a little bit of a better flyer because you're more situationally aware. Am I right?
There's no question about that. So I guess my feelings are very similar to yours. Man, am I so glad that Mavic 2 has it, because I know it's going to keep me out of trouble. But the fact that the Anafi doesn't, it really, it's not a deal. But let me back up just a little bit. So one of the things that I really like about even the little Spark is that it has that front-facing obstacle avoidance, and it gives you more confidence flying in tight places. Now the Anafi doesn't have that. So to what Bill is saying, yeah, if you're going to fly it between the trees and stuff, you better be paying more attention. But how often are you actually doing that kind of flying? I guess that would be my point. But also the thing to point out with the Anafi, Bill, that you didn't mention is that price point. Now that it's come down a little bit, Ron and I were able to buy refurbs. We paid $445 for that drone, which to me is just a screaming bargain. Well, they sold out all those refurbs, and the cheapest I've seen, and I don't know if you've seen it cheaper, Bill, I've seen it for $570 at newegg.com, but most places it's like $599. It's still a pretty decent buy at that price.
Well, Ethan just posted in the chat. He said, I spoke with Parrot, and they think the pilot should always be aware of surroundings. That's why they chose to leave obstacle avoidance off, and that makes perfect sense. It kind of ties in with some of these things. And, for me, one of the things and Marcus brought this up, and this was great. When I had Gail Orenstein on, one of her drones that she uses when she's out in the field, especially in an area that's, war torn, if you want to call it that, or a battle zone, she uses the Anafi. It's quiet. It can fly under things very well, and you have that 180-degree camera. You can catch things with that, and it makes a difference. And it's nimble, it's agile, it's and I talked about this with Rick Smith, and one of the things that we agreed upon is the way I think one thing that Parrot did real well, and a lot of people don't really talk about this, is the center of gravity of that and the weight distribution on the Anafi, because when it stops on a dime. I mean, it really, when you push that stick, it stops, okay? And when you're making a turn, it's responsive. It's almost instantaneous. There's almost no lag. Not that there's a lag with other ones, but because I think a lot of that has to do with the weight of this drone, because and the weight distribution of this drone, because I think it makes a big difference. And I know, and I've watched a lot of and I got to say this. You guys need to check out Ethan's channel. He just put a link to his playlist of Anafi videos, and he's done an extensive set of videos on it. And you guys need to check that out. Ethan has done fantastic work with the Anafi, and I'm sure that's a channel that we can all go to be able to learn from. And I'm waiting for them to put out more refurbished Anafis, because I'll probably pull the trigger, but shh, don't mention it to anybody. Okay, kind of a thing.
Can I add one more thing to that, Bill?
Sure. Go ahead, Marcus.
Yeah. So another thing that, Ethan will know this, but anybody that flies one knows it. But the other thing that's really, really awesome about the Anafi is the flight controls on it are phenomenal. And you talked about it a little bit, how well it stops and turns, but it's more than that. It's very easy to place that drone where you want it to be. The flight controls are just silky smooth on it, and they're all completely adjustable for sensitivity. And in addition to that, and this may just be personal preference, but instead of a dial to adjust the gimbal, it's got a paddle. And I'm telling you, that is so intuitive. I love that paddle for picking the gimbal up and down. It just, it was very intuitive and very easy to use. So we talk about not having obstacle avoidance, yes, but it's also a drone that is very easy to control and very stable. I was talking about the Zino, how wild it is. The Anafi is on the opposite end of that spectrum.
Well, we've had several join up here, and I'd like to welcome Mike Roach in the house tonight. Brent Nunley's in the house. Cold War Television. Drone Shots is in the house. I know David Ma's in the house. Let's see who else. Art is in the house. Art Code Drone Solutions in the house. And Rick Halber. How are you doing tonight, Mr. Rick? So yeah, we've been joined. Got a good showing on, and it doesn't feel like Tuesday to me. So anyway, but I don't want to belabor this point, but one of the other things that I want to bring up with this too is, Parrot recently announced the Parrot Anafi Thermal, and at a price point of, I believe it's $1,900. And from everything I'm hearing, I'm hearing probably the early reactions are, and some of the footage that I've seen from it, comparing it to the Enterprise Dual. I think the footage, especially not necessarily the thermal image, but the regular camera, I think it's better than what's on the Dual. The regular camera that's on the Dual is not very good. I can tell you that right now. After I only had it a week, and I was able to shoot some tests with it, that camera is okay. The camera that is on the Anafi Thermal, I think, is a whole lot better. And then, it's going to be great for first responders. It's going to be a more affordable option for them at $1,900 to be able to use this and to be able to get out in the field. And the bottom line is, the difference is, this is gonna save lives. And again, here's another resurgence with this, with helping to get the interest back in the Anafi. And I've dropped a link in that video to, I run a Parrot Anafi group, and we started out with 0 in it, and there's now almost 350 in there. We're getting close to 400 in there. I'm adding 2 or 3 people a day are getting into it, because they realize that this is a drone that offers some unique things and some things you don't find in other drones. It has great battery life with it. That controller is great. I love the app. I think the app is very intuitive. It's very easy to use. It's very functional. And unlocking these features used to be $17. Now it's 99 cents. Parrot kind of, got smart here from the get-go. Or now with this, and they're coming around and they're seeing things. Now, Marcus, you saw the article today. You saw that I posted about Parrot being awarded that contract. What did you think of that?
Yeah, I think it's phenomenal. So, obviously, we want our military to be buying domestically, but I think obviously the French are their allies, and we've been very well. Without the French, we probably wouldn't have won the Revolutionary War. So I guess we probably wouldn't even be there if not for them. So I think that's great that they've got Parrot looking at supplying drones for the military.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And, Parrot said that they were going to be focusing more on their business end of things rather than consumer. But this may, I don't know if that may have been a true statement for them. But I think because they've experienced a resurgence with the Anafi, I don't think it's going away anytime soon. In fact, I think it's going to be geared up even more. Now, Ethan Mitchell just posted here, if you're into dynamic flying, the Anafi can also do tracking in sport mode, which the Mavic 2 cannot. I mean, wow.
I didn't know that. That's awesome, Ethan. I'm going to try that out. I did not know that.
Yeah, that's incredible. B. Valdez, welcome. Thanks for joining tonight. You know, and I got to say this, Ethan is an excellent source if you have any Anafi questions. You know, if you need to get a hold of him, email me at BillTheDroneReviewer@gmail.com, and I'll make sure I get that over to Ethan to get them answered to you guys, because he has done a deep dive into it. And, you know, he went over and, you know, we were talking when the Mavic 2 got its waypoints and I was doing my series on waypoints, you know, Ethan did one on waypoints with the Anafi as well too, and was kind of comparing that. And, you know, obviously, you know, it's not as good as Lychee, but, you know, he was trying to give me a point of reference for this, and the point of reference was the Anafi. And, you know, that's another thing. You know, it's really packed with a lot of features. And I think, you know, it really, is it worth a second look? Absolutely. You know, without any questions. And, you know, prices have come down on it. I'm waiting for them to maybe come out with some more refurbished ones. I think that will be good. Kevin Fortner, welcome. Thanks for joining tonight.
Hey, Bill, did you see Ethan's comment there about the opportunity that both Parrot and Autel have with the trade war going on?
Yes, they do.
That's on point.
Yes, that's a huge point right now, because, you know, with this trade war going on, you know, I ended up paying $49 more for my Osmo Action than I probably should have. They were going to retail for $299 here in the States. I paid $349 for it. Well, you know, I was going to get it no matter what. But I you know, obviously, you know, that trade war that's going on right now with China, you know, and here, you know, Parrot's over in France, and there's no trade war going on in France right now. And, you know, this is a golden opportunity for them, and also Autel as well. You know, one of the things that I will say about Autel, okay, they make solid hardware. I can tell you my X-Star Premium was a solid, well-built drone. You know, I have absolutely no question about the integrity of the hardware that Autel makes. You know, and same with the Evo. Everything I've heard, the hardware, the physical hardware, and I've actually flew an Evo too. Not as much as I flew Rick's Anafi, but I did have some time with the Evo too. You know, the one thing with Autel, and that it has always been their software. Now the X-Star Premium, you measured updates not in days or weeks, but months. Okay, literally, and I'm not joking about that. But, you know, they've come along a long ways with the Evo. You know, I know Original Dobo has said, you know, they've done fantastic as far as getting timely updates, software updates. They've been much better at that, much more responsive to that. You know, how conversely, though, you know, everybody was expecting, oh, we're going to see an Evo with a 1-inch sensor, you know, at CES, record scratch time. Okay. Oh, we're going to see, you know, they did come out with some new accessories. All right. Which were sorely needed. But are they available now? Record scratch time. All right. You know, they're finally just starting to come out. You know, they're kind of trickling some of these things out. But now, you know, with what, you know, this trade embargo thing, and Marcus brings up a great point with that, and so does Ethan, you know, now's a great prime time for Autel to jump on this. And, you know, and I know they had some kind of a sale going on where you get an extra battery pack and a charger if you buy this package kind of a thing for free. So I think that's definitely something that should definitely be worth your consideration on this. You know, I really do. What are your thoughts about this, Marcus?
Well, I want to interrupt, just change the subject for just a second.
Sure.
I see Brian Singleton just stepped in with True Drone Reviews. How you doing, Brian? Brian, I'm speaking to you. I want you to know the egg has left the building, and it might be on its way to Florida. It might be.
I don't see an egg.
But to go back to your original point, yeah, I would, boy, would I love to see Autel step up their game just a little bit. And Brian made a point just there that says their waypoints need some work, but man, I mean, obviously they can make the hardware. Wouldn't it be so much fun to have a homegrown, full-on competitor to DJI? I mean, that's where I'd be buying my drones for sure.
Well, you know, I can tell you, Marcus, you know, one of the things that really impressed me, now I heard, there's been some people that have left and so forth, but I had some issues with a battery. I called them up, no questions asked. They mailed me a new battery, and I didn't have to mail them the old one back. And right away, I didn't have to. I got into some details, and I told them I looked at the voltage. I found out how to check each one of the cells of the battery, and they told me, they said, you know what, we've had some issues. We'll go ahead and send you out a new one. It was FedExed overnight to me. Okay.
So the point that you're making, and I've seen this, and you never want to make generalities, right? But what I will say is American companies seem to have a better understanding of how good customer service works than what I may have experienced, for instance, from some of not just DJI, but really DJI is good compared to some of the others, but dealing with some of those other manufacturers, it's all but impossible.
Oh, I agree. One of the things that I always caution people with DJI when you're approaching them from a customer service standpoint, and this is a whole show in and of itself, but one of the things, if you approach them the right way, if you come with your information, you know that they're going to ask you, let's say you have DJI Care Refresh, and let's say your Mavic 2 Pro crashes, okay, and you have the remnants of your Mavic 2 Pro with you. All right, be prepared and have what DJI will need ahead of time. Have the original invoice on your drone, have the serial number of your drone, have the DJI Care Refresh number on your drone. Bring up your logs, have them available. Have any flight recordings available for them. Be prepared ahead of time, because they will be asking you all of these questions when you do that. I know, because I walked through this with one of my friends who lives out in New Mexico, and he went through this process, and it's it can be a painful process, but it can be a lot less painful when you start at it prepared. And Marcus gave the example when he ran into the gentleman from the Army Corps of Engineers, approaching him with respect. And I think it's the same thing here with DJI. I think one of the things, we expect customer service to work on a certain level, kind of like, Autel is great. They're a great example, because, you call them and you can be in a foul mood and they're still treating you nice. Okay. You need to approach DJI differently. You need to approach them with, okay, here's what happened. What information do you need from me? I have it available. And just give them that information, and then they'll say they'll get back to you and make a determination. But when you approach it from the standpoint, well, here it is, I want it now. You have all my information. Here's my phone number. Here's my email address. Bring it all up. You're approaching that wrong. And I'm sorry to be on a little bit of a soapbox about this, but I mean, hey, you approach them right, you get treated well. So,
hey, Bill.
Yes.
I'm changing the subject again. Did you see Steve Carpenter's comment there?
Yes.
Costco.
Dropped their price on the GoPro 7 Hero Black down to $339 for the holiday at our location. Wow, Steve, thank you for posting that. That's very, very interesting. Now, Joe's Drone Life also commented, DJI was crazy when I had an issue with my Phantom 4. It took them 3 months to get my replacement. Joe, there are horror stories, and I can't, and I know what you went through. I saw your messages and I saw everything. You shouldn't have to go through that. Nobody should have to go through that. You've paid that money to them. You should get, your product serviced in a timely manner, and you should be able to get things back in a timely manner. And that's just wrong. And I agree with you. I'm 100% with you there, Joe. And one of the big things that you do with DJI that will get responses is publicly tweet them at DJI support, because the more publicity it gets, the more faster that they'll react to it. That's one of the big things that I'll say. Oh, okay. Steve Carpenter said, but today it was back to $399 today. So, oh well, you snooze, you lose, kind of a thing. Thank you for letting us know about that, Steve. All right, we're going to kind of switch gears here a little bit, because as you all know, I have an Osmo Action, and I'm putting together my first video. Now, it's going to be real interesting because what I'm going to do is I'm going to be putting out 2 videos. I'm going to be putting out, my review video with footage in everything in this, but I'm also going to be doing like a vlog, and I know you guys, this is something I think you guys will just absolutely eat up. And I have to tell you this, we went out shopping to Sam's Club and then to Publix. And if you're with Valerie and I for any extended period of time, you will just absolutely love the interaction between us. It's just fantastic. So, I'm going to put this together. Now, one thing that I did learn is, one of the things that I will tell you, some of the things, as a precursor to the review, it shoots when I'm shooting at 4K 30, it shoots in 5-minute chunks. And after the 5 minutes, it moves on to another chunk. It breaks it up kind of like into 5-minute segments with this, which I think is good. So I'm going to play a couple of clips for you guys. I'm going to set these up here just to let you know. The first one's going to be in the truck. And one of the things I want you guys to check out is I'm hitting these speed bumps, at like 25, more than you're supposed to hit them at 25. I'm hitting them at 35. All right. So, I think this will be real interesting. I think you guys will enjoy it. And also the interaction between Valerie and I, I'm telling you guys, it is just absolutely priceless. I guarantee you that. So let's go ahead and play this first clip here. Well, it does. Here comes first speed bump. Okay, that's the first clip that I want to show you guys. The next one is, let me see here. Okay. This is at inside Sam's Club here. We're testing the Osmo Action here inside Sam's Club, and I think it's also going to be good as far as audio is concerned too, to see how much external audio gets picked up. You get to follow us on our grocery shopping adventure. Aren't you all so lucky? And I'm going to show you the last clip here. Okay. Okay. I hope you guys enjoy it. This is, you guys got a mini sampling here of some things. Okay. Now notice in the first clip, and this is what I kind of want to talk about this here, is rock steady in it. And I hit those speed bumps at a good clip at about 35. And you notice how smooth it was. I think that was just, that just absolutely blew me away. Now in the second clip, the thing that I wanted you guys to notice more than anything, you have to know, if you've been inside Sam's Club on a Saturday, it's their busiest day of the week. And I don't care if you're in a Sam's Club in Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Arkansas. It doesn't matter where you're at, okay? Sam's Club is going to be a very noisy environment on a Saturday. You could hear me crystal clear, okay? That's one thing I have to give kudos to DJI for, is the microphone that they have in the Osmo Action is fantastic. Now, it does not pick up Valerie as well, okay? You can hear her, but it's not as well. You can hear me crystal clear. And I have to tell you, that environment, it's a very loud and noisy environment, okay? I can't emphasize that enough. And the last clip that I played, there were two things I wanted you to notice there, all right? We did the transition from it being a darker environment, being inside, to going on to bright sunlight. You can tell there was a little bit of a lag, but there wasn't much, and it perfectly adjusted. I mean, that refresh rate, it just snapped into place right there. I thought that was just absolutely fantastic with that. And then the last test that I did was, now I ran over, I mounted the Osmo Action. I didn't actually mount it, but I put it on the handlebar of the cart so it would get all the vibrations of the cart. And of course, Rock Steady was on, and I ran over that rough area where there's pedals embedded into the concrete, and it's just, and you saw that, how Rock Steady worked with that. Marcus, what are your thoughts for what you saw from this?
Okay, so the initial thing that struck me is when you hit those speed bumps, boy, oh boy, is that smooth. I mean, it didn't even, you saw the front of the truck go up, but you didn't see any jiggle from the camera at all. And the other thing that I did notice when you went from dark to light, that it reacted very quickly. So, yeah, clearly it's a phenomenal piece of technology. I love my Osmo Pocket, but I find that I end up using the Hero 7 more just because it's so much easier to use. And I suspect it's the same with the Osmo Action. Is it, you're going to pick it up a lot because it's so easy to use.
It is. That's the one thing that really, struck me, and it also struck Valerie as well. I mean, it was almost like she was kind of hitting around. So you're going to get me one too, kind of a thing.
There you go. Not a bad idea.
I mean, and Ken Donna, Original Dobo, if you're watching tonight, Ken, a shout out to you, and a shout out to you for your video on the Osmo Action. One of the things, he pointed out again, like you just said, how easy this camera is to use. It really is. There's the QS, or I don't know why they call it QS, but it's the quick modes that it has on there. I mean, you just flip through that, hit what you want, and it's done. For instance, one of the other things that I did this weekend was, and I'm saving that for my actual clip. I'm not going to show you everything. I filmed both the Phantom 4 Pro and the Mavic 2 Pro landing and taking off in slow motion with this, okay? And what a treat this thing is. It's just, and it's just incredible how, just watching it just leaves you breathless. And, all the filming that I've done so far, 4K, 30 frames per second, okay? I'm not, and when I do my, when I do my videos, okay, I'm not going to do any post to it. It's going to be just like it is if it came off. Now, there's a couple of things that I found with this. I can tell you, and I know Rick Smith kind of confirmed this too. He put out a video on it. The battery has a life of 50 minutes on it, and I agree 100%. If you get more than 50 minutes, you're doing something good. You're probably shooting 1080. You're probably not shooting 4K. So I'm very anxious for DJI to release, being able to buy batteries for this and that multi-battery charger. Batteries are $19 a piece. They're very affordable, so I'm going to buy probably as many as I can. So, no, Ethan brought up a good point. The screen lag. Ethan, the screen lag does not show in the video at all, okay? It shows for you, and Ken Dono, Original Dobo, pointed that out today. It shows for you, but it doesn't show in your video, okay? And I think that's an important thing that people need to remember, because a lot of people are thinking, oh, the screen lag. There's no screen. That you see the screen lag, but it does not translate to the video. So know that right away.
Well, the other thing is, that DJI is going to fix that too. I mean, they will.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I have to say getting that SD card in and out of that slot that's in there. Okay, now I did a video specifically on getting that door back on and off. And I got to say this, I also looked on the accessories. That's an accessory that's listed to purchase, is that door for $15. So you know people are going to break that thing, all right? So, you know, I went ahead and I put that video out because I saw GoPro Hero 5 and 6, how to reattach that door. So I said, let's just do it with the Osmo Action, and boom, you know, it's exactly what it is. But, you know, one of the other things is you're going to need, this was the best thing that I found to get the SD card in and out, is a pen, okay? Because otherwise, you know, I don't care how nimble or small your fingers are, you're not going to get that SD card to click inside there. So, you know, I've used a pen getting it in and out of there. It's worked perfectly. I've had no issues with that. You know, the battery charging time, you know, it's going to be that hour and a half. You know, there's no question about that. So, you know, it's like after I came back from our little adventure, you know, I pulled the SD card out so I can get this stuff onto my computer, you know. But the other thing I did was right away I hooked it up to get it to charge, because that's one thing that you need to do. What I'm hoping for is that these accessories that DJI has get released, and get released soon, because especially this battery thing, for me, that's the number one thing that I think DJI needs to get out, is extra batteries for this. Because, you know, being able to shoot for an hour is great, but if you're out for the day, and, you know, $19 a battery, to me, that's very affordable. That's something I think we can all afford for something like this. You know, so I'm probably going to buy at least 4, if not 5 batteries for this, because, you know, I'm going to take that out with me. You know, when I'm filming my drone reviews, and when I'm filming for drones for fun or whatever, you know, I'm definitely going to do that. And, you know, I want to get things. I'm going to be able to mount it in my truck. I'm going to get a selfie stick for that. I haven't gotten that yet. You know, I want to get that multi battery charger to be able to do that as well. I'm probably going to get another SD card, because I even found that 64 gigabyte SD card, when it's shooting in 4K, that fills up pretty quick. You know, I was able to get I don't know how many segments that we did out there, but the Osmo Action shut down because of battery life. Before I ran out of battery before I ran out of SD card. So that's a good thing. So, you know, what can I say? FSU grad is in the house. Thank you for showing up tonight. Whizbang99, you're here tonight. Thank you again for coming. Thank you guys so much for showing up tonight. We really appreciate that. Marcus, any more thoughts about the Osmo Action?
Well, I think it's awesome. And if I'll be honest with you, if I didn't already have this, I would have bought one for sure. And I may yet, you never know. But yeah, it appears to be a phenomenal piece of technology. And there again, it's always good to have competitors, because for us as the consumers, they improve the product, and it hopefully brings prices down too.
Well, you know, one thing, and I've said this before, and I know you've heard this, is, you know, at launch, you know, DJI doesn't give everything. They don't give the store away at launch. In other words, you know, they hold back some things for software wise, you know, and it's been in the history of their drones that they've done that, you know, and they did that with the Osmo Pocket. You know, they just had, and you probably know about this, that firmware update, it added a lot of features to this, you know, and I think that's one thing that DJI is actually pretty smart in doing, is, you know, kind of holding some of these features back. You know, for instance, you know, one of the things that people have been asking about, oh, you can't live stream with this, you know, and I know I'm a big, you know, you saw over the weekend, you know, I was able to get 3 live streams out. Actually, I got the smart controller to do that. We'll talk about that here in a second. You know, people are talking about, oh, being able to do a live stream. You can't do that, but you can do it with a GoPro, you know, and trying to compare the two. Well, you know, yes, you can, but, you know, do you think that DJI hadn't already known that, and that they're not going to have that in firmware update? Of course, you know, that's going to be out there. That's probably, as a very, you know, it has wireless capabilities. It will happen. I can tell you that right now. You can
just like they added waypoints to our Mavic 2, right?
Exactly. You know, when the time is right, they will release some of these things. I mean, you know, when waypoints came out for the Mavic 2, it was just like, you know, and that's one of the things. That was the number one question that I was asked since the Mavic 2 was released, Marcus, was, when are waypoints 2.0 going to come out?
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I mean, absolutely without a doubt. And, you know, I absolutely love doing my series on waypoints. It's absolutely a blast to be able to do that. And what I want to close with tonight was I'm going to talk about, I was finally able to get, and if you guys watched, I did 3 live streams. I did one from the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0. I did 2 from the smart controller. Now, the first one from the smart controller, it was very interesting. When it got to the corner of the lake, which is about 1,500 feet away, at 2 minutes and 53 seconds, the broadcast terminated. But if you know anything about the, about the broadcast, on your on your on your DJI Go 4 screen, up in the corner, you'll still see a timer and a countdown. It'll still say the live stream is going on there, so you know that live stream is still active. And I got that when I was flying back, so I kept talking like it was still a live stream, like we were going. I went to land, everything. I positioned the Mavic 2 in front of me. I said goodbye to everybody. Thank you for showing up, that kind of thing. And none of it came out. And I think what I think happens, and what I think the big issue with this is, Marcus, is I think a lot of it has to do with your Wi-Fi signal and how strong it is. Because, if you have a strong signal, is demonstrated, I waited and I did it again, but I only went down and back, which is 1,000 feet, and it was perfect. I didn't lose signal. It was strong. It was clear. I had absolutely no issues with it. But even able to connect to it, I think you need a very strong Wi-Fi signal when you're doing it, and with the smart controller. And they're also going to be waiting. I know they're waiting on doing a firmware update, because the browser that I used, I downloaded Opera Mini, and I downloaded it directly from Opera's website, not from an APK is what it's called. I didn't do that. I did it directly from their website. So. But that was my adventures with a smart controller this weekend. Again, I think that's one of the accessories that, if I had to get it again, yes, and yes, I'd get it again. Okay, that's one of those things. I know I chatted a little bit with some of my other friends here. It's just, one of the greatest things since sliced bread. And I know Ron's probably experiencing that now as well too. So, Marcus, any closing thoughts for tonight?
Yeah, so I can tell you Ron is loving it, because we've talked about it a lot. He loves that smart controller. Let me add, I have an FT Aviator controller on the way. I should have by the end of June. That's the one that's the joystick that hooks up to your DJI products. That will be interesting to see how that is. I would also like to give a plug to our ZinoNation live show on Friday. We are going to have Mr. Drone Seeker himself, Sean Matthews. We kind of set up a time for the European viewers at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Sean Matthews will be on our show, and I realize a lot of people here in the United States will be at work, etc. But if you can make it, awesome. Sean has a really good story, and it'll be fun to hear what he has to say. And then following up on Monday, we are going to have at a regular time. On Monday evening, we will have Billy Kyle on ZinoNation, and but it's not going to be ZinoNation. We're going to rename it that night Anafi Nation, and it's all going to be about the Anafi. So, boy, if you guys want to tune into that, it should be fun.
Marcus, make sure you drop a link, in your comment. Or send it to me, so I can definitely get the live stream for Friday, so people can watch that. Guys, you really need, Drone Seekers really has, Sean comments on all my videos, okay? And I absolutely love interacting with him. He's fantastic. And you need to check Drone Seekers out. I can't say enough about them. Marcus found a great group of people, and who absolutely love drones. And that's the wonderful thing. I'll get on my soapbox here for just 1 minute. One of the things I love going on Canadian Drone Hub is, we talk drones. That's what we're talking about, okay? And our love of drones. There's nothing there's nothing political. There's nothing, there's race, religion, creed, national origin. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're from Canada. It doesn't matter if you're from Ireland, like my good friend Thomas is from. It doesn't matter if you're over in China. It doesn't matter if you're in Australia, like a lot of my friends are from, or Germany. It doesn't matter. Drones is a universal language. When you're putting those sticks together, and you're firing that up, it really is a great day to fly, no matter where you are around the world. If you're able to do that, and that's a good thing. And that's one thing I think Drone Seekers does a great job to promote. And Marcus, thank you for tuning me in to Sean and his group of people, because they're a fantastic group of people. Thank you for that.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I second that. I'm dead serious. They're most of those guys, a lot of them, the big group are British expats that are living in Spain, and I'm gonna fly over there and visit them one of these days. I'm not kidding.
I don't blame you. I absolutely don't blame you. Got some things coming up. Next month, I'm going to have Kelly. Well, not next month. It's going to be July. I'm going to have Kelly Shores on. Kelly's going to be on vacation the month of June. So he's definitely committed to being on the show. So look out for that. I'm also trying to arrange a time to get Sally French back on, the drone girl. Guys, I can tell you, Sally was my very first, historically speaking, my very first person I had on Tuesday Night Rotor Talk Live. And the show could not have gone better. However, I was getting over bronchitis. I sounded horrible, but Sally was fantastic. And Sally is fantastic. And guys, especially on Twitter, she's very active out there. Check her out. She gets some fantastic news articles out there. You definitely need to do that. She's such a great proponent of drones. She's just so much good for the drone community, and she does so much good in getting women involved in drones as well too, which I am just like thoroughly on board with. As I had Gail on as well. I'm looking forward to getting Sally on. I got some others I'm trying to get lined up. I'm going to try to get Chris Anderson back on. I think you guys will really enjoy him and the Drone Trainers podcast, and his story is a fantastic story. I was able to be on, almost a year ago, on his podcast, and he does a fantastic podcast. He really does a good job. So definitely want to check that out. And if you haven't, I'll make mention of this. I have a podcast out there too, and it's on Podbean, BEAN, like Jack and the Beanstalk kind of a thing. I got at least, there's at least 13, 14 of them out there. Great variety of things. I think you'll enjoy them. It's perfect when you're sitting in the car, you're driving somewhere, if you're going to work, back and forth. I have a couple of my Canadian Drone Hub episodes that I was on. A couple other ones, like one with Rick Smith, and some of the other ones from Tuesday Night Rotor Talk Live I had on. So you guys check them out and enjoy that. I think that's fantastic. Like I said, we got a lot of good things coming up. Spin Up is coming up. It's October 19th down in Round Rock, Texas, if I'm not mistaken, Kelly. I hope it is. I'll get that right. Early registration is now going on, so the earlier the better as far as that's concerned. Definitely, I'm definitely planning on going as far as that's concerned. So, and I want to close with absolutely totally close with this. As many of you know, very bad storms hit Ohio last night, and I saw that first thing this morning. And right away, I thought about all my children, because my 3 children, adult children, live in Ohio. My son-in-law and my son's girlfriend, and my daughter's in-laws. All people that are very special to me. And I checked with all of them. All of them were safe. All of them had power. There was a real devastating tornado that came through, and you'll probably know the name of this place, Xenia, Ohio. Okay, that's where. In fact, that's where my kids went to college. There's a college near there. One of the worst tornadoes that hit this country, and they have a great warning system in place. And I know it saved a lot of people's lives last night. And debris was so bad on one of the interstates there, they had to clear the debris with snowplows. It was so bad. And Ohio is part of the Midwest, and in the Midwest, they get really socked with some really bad weather, and really bad weather came through last night. But fortunately, my kids were okay. I was very thankful to hear that. They all had power. They were all able to get to work today without any issues. So, I'm just very thankful for that. And I want to make sure that you guys, always check out your loved ones. I mean, that's number one as far as I'm concerned. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. I'm done. Marcus, thank you so much for filling in tonight. I really appreciate it. I extended an invitation out to my good friend Ron Brown. He wasn't able to make it, but Marcus was here. Thank you again. Please tune in this Friday at 4 o'clock to a special broadcast of ZinoNation. Marcus and Ron will be having Sean on from the Drone Seekers. You definitely want to miss that. Billy Kyle's on Monday night. Billy Kyle is worth the price of admission anytime. Billy, if you're watching, you really are. Yeah. Am I patting you on the back? Of course I am, because you deserve it. You do a great job. So, and we'll try to get you on and Ken on sometime. I think that would be a good thing as well. Marcus, thank you again.
Thank you for having me on the show, Bill. It was fun.
As I always say, as I always close with, it's a great day to fly. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.